Welcome to this edition of Inside the Academy Studio.
Today's conversation will be about Tom Hooper's Les Miserables. Les Miserables was adapted by Alain Boublil and Claude-Michel Schoenberg and others from their respective musical, which has been on Broadway and other stages for over 25 years. And the source material, obviously, is the novel by Victor Hugo. Les Miserables is a story that spans decades. It's set place in 19th century France and basically tracks the journey of Jean Valjean, played by Hugh Jackman, from him being released on parole to him ultimately running away from his parole, settling in a new town, becoming wealthy, adopting a little girl named Cosette, and the inspector, Javert, played by Russell Crowe, who will stop at nothing to catch him. And the backdrop is near the end of the film, the backdrop is the student uprisings of 1832 that took place in France. I bring in my co-host.
I am not your co-host, I am a man!
I see you have the singing spirit, so that really, it goes right into my first question. Les Miserables is such a beloved musical, and many people have said that it's been done, in every way possible. But Tom Hooper does something different than other musicals that are adapted to screen. He had the actors sing live during the performances. They had the music in their ear, but they were able to change and kind of play with what they were singing instead of just singing back to a pre-recorded track. It was a risk, but how do you think Tom Hooper's risk paid off?
Yeah, I think it paid off just for creating excitement for the movie alone. I mean, I guess it's a little shallow looking at the marketing perspective, but it drew a lot of excitement to the movie because this is a good way to experience live theater when you're not necessarily watching a Broadway play. So you can be in like Topeka, Kansas, not to disparage the live theater scene there, and still feel like you're watching a full-scale production.
Right, it kind of cross-blends the two mediums together. And one of the key factors where I guess this blend really works is Anne Hathaway, who plays Fantine, the doomed Fantine, who has the obviously tremendous solo I Dreamed a Dream. I think it's fantastic. A whole range of emotions. Starts out slow, and near the end you can see her body shaking, tears coming through her eyes. It was really a complete overarch of what she as a character was feeling, and even what the people at that time in that situation were feeling.
Yeah, there's nothing more I can add to that. I mean, that's definitely a highlight of the movie. It's definitely, I think it's just that performance alone is a highlight of the 2012 film cinematic year. I mean, hyperbole and all, I definitely say that.
It was a very, very strong moment.
Yeah.
The musical is often referred to as the musical of the poor because it's trying to capture the French poor in the early 19th century. As somebody new to the source of material, did you get that message? Did you feel that there was themes of poor being subjected, class war, any of those things? Yeah,
I think you can see it right from the beginning when Jean Valjean, I'm pronouncing this off, but I know the name.
Jean
Valjean is referred to as a number from Javert.
Right.
So it kind of sets the tone that the French people, the underclass, they feel like nothing to compare to the upper class, and you can see a reason for that tension, even as implicit as it is in song.
Right, and you can even see later on in the film during Cosette and Marius's little wedding reception, where Sacha Baron Cohen and Helena Bonham Carter's Madame and Monsieur Thénardier run through the huge hall, and the interaction between the rich and the poor is so distinct. I think a strong message in Les Miserables is one of identity, and obviously Jean Valjean struggles from the beginning. Coming to peace with what he's done. One of his most effective songs is "What Have I Done." Can you speak to the sense of identity and characters trying to, really form their identity throughout the film?
Yeah, I think especially how the narrative framework is set up. It's set up like a 3-act play roughly, right?
Right.
So you're seeing these characters going through their life.
Yeah.
So you start out with Jean Valjean as I won't say young, but like younger prisoner.
Right.
To an older established member of society.
Right. At one point, he's the mayor of a little city in France, and then just known as a wealthy man.
So yeah, you can see how his character changes superficially, but the core character still remains the same. Like to his commitment to the principle that he
by the end. What do you think Jean Valjean achieves? What do you think his identity is? Does he make peace that he's always a man who's going to be on the run, who's done wrong, or does he make peace that he's helped Fantine's daughter? He's tried to help the student revolutionaries.
Yeah.
So where does he feel like he's lived a fulfilled life by the end of this film?
I think he does, especially like he kind of resigns himself to his to his fate, where he says, even if I can't attend Cosette's wedding, the girl he raised for like over half of her life,
right?
He says, as long as she's happy and she has found a suitable match, my objective here is done, and I will move on. So he's made peace with his situation, and in fact, he's even referred to as a saint for that, for like his unselfishness in that scenario. Selfless moments, including dragging Marius out of the battle scene. Yeah, when he's fighting for his life, and then Marius commends him for that. So I think Valjean is such a great screen and stage character that we have to now discuss Hugh Jackman. Yes. The transformation that he made to Jean Valjean is pretty extraordinary. He went through the physical rigors, stopped drinking water or drank less water to show that really famished look underneath his eyes. He's a person who we've seen in, I guess most people are going to familiarize himself with Wolverine and that character. We're going on 5 movies this summer. But we know him from hosting the Academy Awards, hosting the Tonys, being on Broadway. Should we be surprised that he can have this sort of performance in him? I think most people aren't surprised that he can do this sort of performance because he's a triple threat. Can you elaborate? What do you mean triple threat? I mean, he's known for acting, he's known for singing, and he's known for dancing already. Okay, so and of course, like Christian Bale, he plays a variety of roles, both in physicality and type of character that he's playing. I mean, he's played the Leopold, Caden Leopold, a random role like that, to Wolverine the year before. That's even earlier in his career, and he still continues to do that. He takes a huge variety of roles, and it feels like he's an actor that he isn't hurt by selecting a lesser movie because people know of his talents already. I mean, he has a natural charm, right? So I think my co-host is trying to say the pressure's on you, Andrew Garfield, Henry Cavill. Yeah. If you want to be a superhero, you got to be a triple threat. Well, if you want to get outside of the superhero realm, if you want to easily get outside the superhero realm, I mean, I guess we could talk about Tobey Maguire, but that's totally unrelated. Okay. We know that Les Miserables takes place over many decades in the early 19th century, and a large part of capturing that is the costumes and the makeup. I was really impressed by, the dirtiness, the grime, but yet it felt honest, little vanity in what the production designers were trying to do. Because the French period, especially this period, is commonly portrayed in a huge variety of media. I mean, just Les Miserables alone, you just go on to IMDb, you'll find 20 credits. So trying to find a vision that's true to the time period, but still brings out new subtleties that you haven't seen before, is definitely a challenge. So, and not being a real good historian, I'll admit to that.
Right.
I think it worked because I did feel like I was in that period. Like it did feel authentic to a layman's eyes. But I guess the real test is how it felt to a historian's eyes.
Understand.
Yeah.
And we talked about Anne Hathaway and Hugh Jackman. Both are being recognized by the Academy with nominations this year. But this is a huge cast and various different roles and songs. Can you speak to the other characters? Javert, played by Russell Crowe, someone not known for their singing. How do you think he did?
Well, I think Russell Crowe has definitely gotten the most notice for being not having the best performances, right? But I don't think it necessarily detracts from the entire movie because Javert is not a character who portrays a wide range of emotions
or even.
Yeah. He's a direct, very one-minded character. Who's very
and I think we'll talk about his arc a little later. Yeah. We're almost nearing the end of this edition of Inside the Academy Studio, and like always, we like to end with questions. So I ask, what was your favorite moment in Les Miserables?
Well, we've said it like probably 3 or 4 times in the podcast alone, but I don't care. Anne Hathaway singing "I Dreamed a Dream" is definitely my favorite moment of the film.
And I have to agree with my co-host. Yeah. You almost feel guilty suffering, the best moment of the film, like 25 minutes into it.
Yeah.
And you still have 2 hours left. But it leaves such an impression on a viewer that, that's basically a lot of what you remember. And that's not to detract from the rest of the film and the rest of the performances, but it's such a standout performance that it really kind of leaves an impression.
Yeah, like you could even say like Jaws, like the Indianapolis monologue. Like they're good.
So you're saying that this will be remembered beyond this film. It'll be like one of those moments, in cinema where you just bring up Les Miserables and you'll just remember that sequence.
Yeah, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, like you remember that sequence.
Sometimes sequences do kind of become larger than the films they were in.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about our least favorite moment in Les Miserables, and I'll start. Mine was the Javert song "Stars," when he's on top of that building after narrowly letting Valjean and Cosette disappear. I think it's more attributed what I feel Javert as a character is. Like we talked about, that he's very single-minded. Personally, I didn't understand his motives to a point that I know he's trying to uphold the law, but to what degree, I never understood why he was doing it. Maybe this is in the adaptation from novel to stage play that it was lost, but more of where Javert is coming from. I feel like that character, I don't understand. I know he's an inspector, policeman, but I don't understand why he keeps on going. To me, that kind of is why that's my least favorite moment.
Well, there's a one brief line where he mentions, "I grew up in a prison, so I know you prisoners are like, they're beyond
saving."
Yeah, beyond saving. Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking.
No, I guess I missed that.
Yeah, it was a brief line.
Your least favorite moment?
I guess my least favorite moment would have to be when Jean Valjean resolves to become a better man, and then he just does a jump to where he is like a self-made man, a mayor of the town, right?
Right.
I mean, I understand it showing how the difference time can make.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm just accustomed to a little more. I'm accustomed to montages in my.
So you would have liked to see more, but then structurally it's set up where there's a couple of time period jumps.
Yeah, I guess.
So in that way, it kind of fit in.
Yeah.
One of the last things we like to do is word association. So when we think of Les Miserables, what word comes to mind?
I think of hair because we mentioned it now like 6 times.
Yeah.
Like the scene where Fantine, played by Anne Hathaway, has her head shaved or teeth pulled.
Okay. Yeah. And you think of hair, I think of tigers, once again, from I Dreamed a Dream. So when we think of Les Miserables, we think of hair and tigers. That has been this edition of Inside the Academy Studio.
Thank you.